It is not rare for people to ask me why I focus on Chinese medicine for emergency situations and to prepare for that. And the reason for that is not so much because Western medicine cannot do that. I think in many cases they will not be able to do so unless when they use the Chinese medicine theory, because that is directly focused on the experience of the body and the experience of the self and the way how you deal with life in general to resolve issues. So in this video we're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to use some Taoist classics for this to explain some of the principles. Welcome in the new Daoland video. My name is Yo Li-O and I'm a Wudang Taoist, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit more about Wudang Taoist meditation today. And if you are not a member yet of the channel, please then join the channel, like it, make a comment. It helps the channel forward so that the algorithm can see me, and that also more people can enjoy the channel as a result of that. When we talk about Taoist meditation in this video, we are talking about that in comparison with Buddhist meditation and Confucian meditation. And in Wudang specifically, all three come together. So you have to know about all three to be able to understand what is the difference, where are the similarities, and what are we actually doing with that. And the last part, I'm going to talk about a chapter in the cloud cover, department number 63, and this number 63 discusses or starts discussing what is called the golden flower method of meditation. And the golden flower method of meditation has become famous in the West because of the translation, or the partial translation I should say, by Richard Wilhelm in the long time ago. The version that I have here for you is from the Ming Dynasty. It is the opening statement, and there are about 30 departments dealing with this, and every department has 3, 4, 5 or 6 texts that is explaining things. And this first chapter is basically an introduction into the basics of the golden flower techniques, and as a result of that we are going to get a little bit of an insight in the tools that we have available for this kind of meditation. So let's get into it, and let's go enjoy this. In the West, when we are talking about meditation nowadays, we mostly talk only about a particular set of meditations, which is usually rooted in Buddhism. Whether it is Vipassana or other Buddhist meditations, they are mostly rooted in that. And I would like to explain you some differences, because that is by far one of the main forms of meditation in Asia, even though Buddhism is, besides Christianity and Islam, the largest religion in East Asia. It is not necessarily the most practiced meditation, and you should understand what I mean with that. And therefore I'm going to give you a brief introduction in all three, and I'm going to talk to you about Confucian meditation, I'm going to talk to you about Buddhist meditation and the relationship with science, modern science, and I am going to talk to you about the relationship with Taoist meditation. And we're going to discuss then, of course, a set of text. And we're going to talk about a text, and I'm going to talk about a text. I'm going to read to you one particular text which is relevant within this context. We'll keep it secret till the end. Let me first give you a small introduction about what is the difference between the different schools of meditation. So first of all, the Buddhist schools. We can divide them, the Chinese Buddhist schools, the Buddhist schools in general, in two branches. One is the pure Buddhist schools, and I'm not talking about the Pure Land schools or anything like that, but these are Buddhist schools, and they are studying the mind, right? They are using the mind and are studying the mind, and they have a particular kind of idea about the mind. And modern New Age thinking is partly rooted in that Buddhist idea of the mind, but it radicalizes it into, well, a matrix kind of philosophy. So we're not going to discuss that part. But we can also say that modern science, with its instrumental observation, is doing something similar as Buddhism does, because it retreats the human existence to mental faculties, and these mental faculties are rooted in hormones and neurons and so on. And as a result of that, you can say this is like a pure materialistic form of mind that they are representing, and as such you could combine that with Buddhist thought in the sense that they both deal with the mind. Science is not Buddhism, Buddhism is not science. Oh, Buddhism is science, but it is a different kind of science, of course, because the mind is not as strict and unyielding as an instrument is, and an instrument is based on its programming, and Buddhism is also based on its programming. So in that sense, they are not that different from each other. Okay, so then the second one is Confucianism. And Confucianism as a meditation school isn't as old as people like to think. It's mostly from Neo-Confucianism, where they borrowed from Buddhism and Taoism, where they started developing meditation, and people like Wang Yingming and Zhu Xi moved into that realm, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. They are talking mostly about reasoning and also about Jingzhuo, which is the art of refinement, you can say, or ethical refinement in some sense. And we're going to talk about that more. And then there is the Taoist schools, and the Taoist schools are more related to our humanity as a whole, and it is relating our humanity to the external world, and it is trying to harmonize the two, try to use also that harmony to be able to achieve all kind of goals. And the Taoist school also, in a way, is very close to the magical schools, although also Buddhist schools, especially the Tantric Buddhist schools from Tibet, they emphasize and incorporate magic practices also within their meditation techniques. And they are very far away from the Theravada methods of meditation in some ways, but the root of it is still the same. So when we talk about the Confucian school specifically, let's discuss that first. When we talk about Confucian meditation, we talk about a combination of posture and of method. And that means that method and posture are integrated with each other. And I have to tell you that posture and method are also part of the Wudang Taoist school. When I came there first time, I remember Shifu Yaoshun made very clear that if I didn't study Confucianism, I could not study Taoism. Because he said Taoism is an extension of Buddhism, certainly in the Wudang school. So I had to also understand what the Confucianism was about, and therefore also how that actually works, and how to integrate that with the more Taoist things. Similar with Buddhist practice, you also had to understand more about Buddhist practice. So for people who are studying Wudang, Tai Chi Chuan and so on, and they are interested in Taoism too, because that's not necessarily the same, then this video is core material for you to understand what is the root of your practice and why that is relevant. And that might actually change some of the aspects of how you practice, or maybe even why you practice. First of all, in Confucianism, they practice, or we practice, benevolence, run. And run, in that sense, is related to being humane. And humane is part of what you can say in the West, part of your humanity. If you are human, you are compassionate, and you think about your fellow beings, and you are attempting to make the world into a better place. So that humanity is the root also of your ethical standards. If you don't have any ethical standards, you have no humanity, and whatever you say, it is evil. Now, this is basically the root of what Confucianism says. Then, beside that, you also have to exercise your yi. Your yi is your righteousness, and that is also therefore your radiance outward, that you are actually representing that what you are saying. Walk your talk, so to say. The idea of Confucianism is that people by nature are ethical beings. Whether you look at the Sun Tzu or you're talking about Mun Tzu, in both cases, being ethical is essential. In Mun Tzu, it says we are by nature good in nature, so we need education to make sure that that goodness actually shines. And in Sun Tzu says, well, by nature we are demons, but because of devising ethical standards and education, we can become good people. If education fails, we become evil. If we have no education, we become evil. So this is basically what it says. So some things that are happening in the world, in politics and in social environments, we can say that these things are evil because education clearly failed for these people, right? So this is also why they do not like education, because they felt too much forced to go against their evil natures that they had from origin. In Confucianism in general, they agree that part of humanity is good, part of humanity is by nature evil. So that both Sun Tzu and Ming both are a little bit right. And this is one of the natures of Confucianism, is trying to show the common denominator between things. So it is not about the similarities, it is accepting the differences, and from the differences come to understand where unity can be achieved. In Buddhism, the study of the mind, of course, as I said, is important. And specifically in study of the mind, they are trying to study the nature of emptiness. The nature of emptiness is basically the nature of human being, they say, because the human being can be eliminated only to our mental awareness of reality, and therefore reality only exists in your mind. And as a result of that, you can prove through meditation, 主参, you can prove that the world, the nature, the reality is empty. And this is then the root of the development of eventually what we call samadhi. Samadhi is then the meditative absorption that you are trying to seek within your practice. So as a result of that, when you meditate a lot, you achieve samadhi. And to meditate in the sitting, you are sitting in lotus or on your knees or whatever kind of practice you do, but your eyes are half open to make sure that your mind continuously gets fed by light, and as a result of it, your mind remains active, and then you can eventually see the nature of your mind. And there are particular kind of techniques in there. One of them is the method, and the method is basically sitting in calm abiding. So you're just sitting and basically you're waiting your time. So you wait for things to happen and you just observe them. The other one is what is called guan, which in modern time is called vipassana. And vipassana you are using to develop understanding insight. So it's contemplative meditation, which is very similar to the methods that were developed in the West. This is also one of the reasons why they are very popular as a method in the West. They're very often confused also with mindfulness. Mindfulness is more like a true. That means that you don't judge about what you see, you just see it and you let it go. In Guan, you are actually contemplating particular kind of concepts and ideas, and you rotate through it to get a particular kind of understanding. So you can see that this is different from Confucianism, where your ethical refinement is important, and therefore contemplating of your actions is important, while the Buddhist contemplation is more like, these are particular concepts, please go meditate on this, like the Zen aphorisms that people say, like, what is the sound of one hand clapping? Taoist meditation probably is the most complicated from the three, and as I said in Wudang Taoism, the integration of Confucian and Buddhist values makes it even more complicated. The moral system of Taoist meditation therefore combines the ethical refinement of Confucianism with the karmic retribution of Buddhism. And then there's also your relationship with ancestors, ghosts, spirits, demons, and so on and so forth. So the worldview there is much more complicated, and you are trying to refine your internal nature, the substances of your body, the working of your organs, the spirits of your body, and so on and so forth. Through, for instance, ling body practice, where you are, allowing yourself to be transparent to your awareness, and that same kind of transparency you take eventually into the world, so that you become part of the world and you become communicative with the world, and that starts with the world around you, and eventually through ritual, magic and so on, that becomes communication with the gods up high in heaven, or in the underworld, as in the school of Tai practice, and also then with the demons and the ghosts that are roaming in the earth. So a large part of Taoist practice is dealing with that kind of nature. Lao Tzu already talked about it, Zhuangzi talked about it, all the early proto-Taoists, they discussed these kind of aspects, and they are of course very important. And we are talking about particular kind of methods to get there, and one of the most famous one, most discussed one in sinological and Taoist literature, Taoist translation or communication about Taoism is Zhuo Wang, and that is sitting and forgetting. And sitting and forgetting, you are sitting and you are just trying to, well, literally forget. Then the second one is called Shouyi. Shouyi is a little bit complicated to explain because it is called gardening the one, but it depends a little bit on what aspect of training you're doing or what school you're doing, what the one actually means. So it is not like just one particular thing. So it could be one point, it could be your unity, it could be the world around you. And for instance, when we do the Zhongwu Qigong in our school, guarding the one is the Wuji within from the middle Dantian. So you have to develop the different Dantians over time in your practice, and the first stage is the development of the middle Dantian, and it can take up to 2 years before you actually really get to that point if you practice every day enough time. So time factors are a aspect of this. Then the third technique that Taoists very often use is called Neiguan. Neiguan is the inward viewing of your body. For this you need, of course, definitely your link body practice, because if you do not integrate your mind with the natural luminosity of nature as a whole, because everything that is alive radiates some kind of light outward, and if you do not develop that, then at that moment it becomes very difficult to have this internal viewing and also to bring that outward so that you can see that in other people. And as a result of that, the mystical nature of reality passes by on you, because seeing the form of things and the translucency of things and the inner nature of things, you can see if things are actually really alive, if they are healthy, if they are decaying or dying. And this is also the root of Taoist medicine and Chinese medicine before the modern time. So this is one of the main criticisms that I have on TCM, for instance, is that people do not practice link body practice, and as a result of that, they do not get to that point. And even though Taoism advocates being like nature, and that means that not doing more than absolutely necessary, because nature is not ambitious. Nature is lazy, you can say, as Zhuangzi says. You try to do the minimum to achieve a particular kind of things, and your ambition should not be too high, so that nature can flourish. Because if you are doing the absolute minimum to achieve what you want, then other people can do that too, and as a result that whole of society can flourish. And that doesn't mean that everybody can have a Mercedes-Benz or a Tesla or anything like that, but everybody can have what they need and therefore develop their own health. My research is based on what you actually need and how that will work for people, how people would make an effort to actually work on their health. So if you are interested in research or partaking in research and get a good discount on the learning material and being one of the first, so that you can become a seed into a larger project that we're going to set up all over the world, and also in refugee camps, because it looks like we're all going to be refugees. Then just sign up, contact me, and make sure that you fill in the form that comes with this video, so that you can be part of that. Another technique is, of course, Neidan. Neidan is very often discussed, especially in relationship to Tai Chi Chuan and so on, and that is basically called the making of inner medicines. And all these techniques, they all play a part in what we call the golden flower methods, which became famous from the Ming Dynasty, late Song Dynasty. And as a result that nowadays are often discussed but very little understood. Then, of course, there is, in all of these techniques, there's also the control of breathing. You see this also, regulating of breathing, in both Confucianism and Buddhism. But the techniques in Taoism are pretty rigorous. When we do the breath practice, the Daoyin, for learning how to correct breathing, we always emphasize to gradually move towards a 3 minutes breath, in breathing in, holding the breath, breathing out, holding the breath some more. 3 minutes is a minimum, and to press the sense organs open and to restore vitality in your sense organs when you're older, you need to be able to hold your breath for 3 minutes. So that means that you have to be able to also relax your body proper to carry the pressure that you're building up in your body, and you have to breathe slow enough. You have to slow down your mechanisms, your metabolism, in such a way that you do not produce waste products, but you actually use everything, because the faster you use, the faster you move, the faster you function, the more waste products you produce. So the more health problems you might get, the more agitated you become, the more stressed, and so on and so forth. So slow living is then also one of the main features of Taoism. And that means that things go as they go, and you nudge here and there to get it into the right direction, but you try not to hurry, because when you force something, then usually things eventually fall flat on their face. You see that happening in the news every day. The last aspect, which is called yi, and this is very often translated as visualization, and although visualization is not exactly radically wrong, but it's definitely not right, and it is wrong enough, let's say it like that. Because the idea, just like with Tantric Buddhism, which is rooted in these Taoist practices, according to Stephen Eskildsen, the yi, in that sense, represents the fact that you are being enculturated in a particular kind of story, a realm, or something. Your teacher introduces you to that. And then through your meditation, eventually you bring that to life inside you, the generation of what is called the Trikayas in Buddhism. This is originally a Taoist idea. The Trikaya theory comes from Japan, actually, from Japanese Nichiren, I think, or maybe another method, and has been absorbed in other schools of meditation, of Mahayana schools. But in Taoism, they call this basically the arising of images. So at the moment when, for instance, you go through a particular kind of practices, at a certain point you will see the goddess of the moon. And when you see that goddess of the moon, you know it's going to happen, but when you actually do that and you have not been properly prepared, you cannot properly react, because it is not just an image that you're seeing, but you're getting introduced into a lifestyle. And there has been a bunch of books translated from the Shangqing Taoism, and you will see them here and here. And these books also represent the experience of that. That's an important part of the Tao Tang and of Taoist practices. And when I started learning these kind of things in the 1980s, I was really very much surprised, and I was like, oh, that's very interesting, because it's very psychedelic in many ways. And as a result of the different techniques that you are combining, the psychedelics becomes more real. I didn't have enough textual foundation for that, and now my current translation works provides all the textual foundation. And the books that I pointed out before, Left and Right, they are being put outside of the textual foundation that actually become relevant within Taoist practice. So it is the context of learning with a teacher that is putting you into that kind of reality that is eventually what is making it work for you, because you are through the initiation by your teacher. And that doesn't mean like mystical initiation per se, but through the storytelling, through the explanation of the methods and the expectations being put onto you, and there are relevant responsibilities that you take on by means of an oath. Then at that moment, you are basically committing yourself to something. As a result of that commitment to something, it is something that just came up also in one of the classes, you get to a certain point and you feel like you have to make a choice. Either you're going to be part of humanity and therefore give in to all your cravings and desires and other people's cravings and desires, so you become a reactive human being like everybody else, or you go into the higher realms, and as a result of that you dedicate yourself more to the ultimate goals of Taoism. And the same is for Buddhism and Confucianism. And in Buddhism the goal is enlightenment, although in East Asian Buddhism the idea is to become a bodhisattva, and that means that you do not go into enlightenment until all other sentient beings also have become enlightened. And also for Confucianism, the goal is not so much enlightenment as well as being ethically so pure that you develop the kind of resonance that everybody who comes in contact with you feels like they should follow the same path, and they should try to get on that path also and try to improve the quality of their life and their morality. So let's now go to the text. The text I'm going to read to you is called The Mysterious Lord of the Primordial Gods' Discrimination of Gold, Tiger, Lead and Mercury in Making Cauldrons and Entering the Sacred True Elbow Formula. And it's the first part of it. So there's a second part. I will do that in another video eventually. Or you can just become a member of the Shifu Guide and come across it and read it and study it there by itself. So let's get into this and take the next step. This next step is actually the end of the video, the end of the text, where it says, "The Red Emperor decreed that this secret be written in vermilion on a golden tablet. If one does not understand its truth, if one hesitates and speaks with falsehood, one will ultimately gain no truth. A scholar should only act with unwavering resolve. A true master will surely arrive to guide those who follow." I have to explain it a little bit, because when we talk about scholar, we talk about a Shen. And the Shen is like a scholar warrior, you can say. And when we talk about the Taoist practitioner, the Wudang Taoist practitioner, then of course it's a Wudang Shen. So that means that you are disciplinary, you are committing yourself to disciplinary service to the path of immortality and holiness. Therefore, there are particular kind of rules, and when you follow the rules in your self-cultivation, you can get immortality.